Welcome everyone to the Animal Bonds Zoom call. And today we are going to continue our conversation from last week where we talked about, we started talking about trauma and how to support animals in traumatic situations. And that evolved into supporting animals during transition time. And we've all had that experience where we have been with an animal that's transitioned. Some are easier than others. Most of the time, it's a very heart-wrenching, upsetting time for all of us. But what we have learned, and I'm so glad Kelly's here, and Jamie also can comment on this as well, is that we've learned that the animals show us all the time that they're not afraid to go, that their time is done, and that it's better for them if we can surround them with joy and happiness, because a lot of times when they leave, they actually, you can sometimes feel this immense joy. I know that when I had a little disabled dog, Reba, she was only 4 when she passed, and she always had, she was found in a homeless camp so when I got her, she was about a year old, and it was funny because she was in a homeless camp. You know, homeless people can sometimes be hoarders. She would hoard stuff. She would have her little bed and she could barely walk. She shook when she walked, and she would grab my partner's size 16, which size 16 in the US, because I know Maud's in the UK, is huge. I mean, it's a huge foot. And she would pick up a shoe when we first got her and stop, rest, and then just like 5 times just to get to her little bed. And then all of his shoes would be around her bed. She's a little hoarder. She's amazing. But thankfully, thanks to Rockster Food, which we've promoted, it's an amazing dog food. It's really the best dog food in the world. If you have a dog, you really should be feeding it at least as a topper, Rockster. But anyway, she got that and she was able to actually run. So she could bunny hop. And it was really wonderful to see her progression. But sadly, she passed unexpectedly, and I was with Kelly actually, and it was a really hard time. My partner was with her, she was at the hospital, and he was a wreck, and I was trying to hold space, and thank God I was with Kelly, because Kelly was able to hold space for me. And when Reba passed, we actually knew when she passed, it was like this beautiful just warmth just came up, and it was like I could see her running free, and it was just so beautiful to experience. And it was a reminder that, you know, we are so attached to that physical body, we're so attached to that physical presence, what they're bringing to ourselves, when instead, if we can try and let go and be happy for them, that they're now, like in her case, she's now going to be able to run free. She's now going to be this beautiful free spirit that is no longer burdened by her body. And I remember like having Kelly there, it was so incredible. And this is what I encourage all of you. When our animals are passing, it's sometimes very hard for us to hold space. I mean, here I am, been doing this for 14, 15 years. And I tell people, oh yeah, you got to be strong for your animals. It's almost impossible when an animal you love is passing and you're trying to hold space and be happy and turn your emotions around. Sometimes it's not possible. So it's really important to reach out and say, I'm having a hard time. Could you hold space? And we're all very lucky. We are all here. We all are the Let Animals Lead practitioners. We know how to hold space. We've been trained on how to hold space. So when someone else in our life is having issue, it's really easy for us to do that. And I'm so grateful, Kelly. I don't know if you want to say something about that. So grateful for Kelly for that time, because otherwise I just would have been a wreck.
Yeah, that was and you were just getting off the plane when you got the news, so it wasn't you were already tired. And I really have found over many years of losing people or people being sick or emergencies or whatever, that it is better to ask people to hold the space, because a lot of times we just can't, and it's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves. We can do our meditation and everything, but it's really almost impossible to have our mind stop. I thought one of the beautiful things about what happened was Leah was stretched out on the couch at my house, and she had the blanket. It was in the winter. She had the blanket on. I was cooking dinner, and I looked in, and both of my cats were laying on her. And they knew, and so and as a matter of fact, Bo's over in the chair, and you started talking about Reba, and his little head popped up. It was really cute. So, they, our other animals that are still with us can assist us and help us get through the hardest part.
And what was really interesting about that, them laying on me, they didn't do that after, I got you kind of over it, not over it, but when I was able to pull myself together. So that was the first day when I just landed, all this happens. I'm bawling hysterically. Kelly, thankfully, is just there giving me Reiki, holding space, and her cats are holding space. And the next day we were supposed to go to a farm sanctuary, and she said, it's okay if you don't want to go. And I'm bawling, of course I want to go to the farm sanctuary. And I'm so glad I did, because that also helped me get out of it, right? All of those beautiful little sheeps and goats and the big cow. It was just so amazing. And you realize, you know what? It's life goes on, and I could sit in that space and be grateful for Reba, be grateful for all the lessons she taught me, which she taught me many, and be happy for her and not be mired down in my emotion and grief. So thank you, Kelly, for that. And Jamie, I don't know if you want to share your experience with that as well.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of animals that have made their transitions, because I've had them since I was kids, and for many years it was gut-wrenching, and there was tears. Sometimes I couldn't even be in the room, and then I got to where I could be in the room. And so this has been a process for me. And the one that really transformed me was Tulip, the chow that I rescued. It had such a traumatic life, but she just blossomed, and she had cancer. And the night she was making her transition, and I've told this story before, but I don't think everybody's heard it. She was struggling. The cancer had gone into her lungs. She couldn't get up. She would want to go outside. She was restless. So finally, I just laid down on her bed with her and kind of spooned with her. And I began to just do really deep breathing. And I was amazed, because her breath synchronized with mine. And as long as I laid there and we did this deep breathing together, she was calm. If I got up to go to the bathroom or do something, then she got restless again. So I would quick go back and lay down with her. And I'm on the floor, which is it's not carpet, it's just a hard floor. And we were there for 8 hours together doing this, but it didn't seem like it was any time at all. I mean, I understand, that we transcended time in that moment. And the next day, she, people were coming. I was waiting for the vet. And when she did make her transition, it was the most beautiful thing. Because I remember I got up and I said, I want to anoint her before she goes. So I went to get some oil. And I said, oh, my legs are killing me, because they should have been killing me. I should not have been able to walk. And I had no pain. And so I'm like, oh, this is really weird. I'm thinking this, but I go get the oil. I anoint her. She lets out a deep sigh. When she gets the last injection, my bird starts to sing. And I knew she was free. And, it was the most beautiful experience I've ever had. So she taught me, I've said it in class many times, we're all connected, there's this web of life. Yeah, we're all connected, whatever. But she taught me with my heart to feel that. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of the greatest lessons, that she gave me. She gave me many, but that was such a beautiful experience. And I got to be present for it. She shared it with me. And I feel like that was such a privilege.
Well, and I like too how you're talking about, transcending, because animals teach us how to transcend pain, how to transcend, misery, trauma. They can go to that higher level where there is no pain, there is no issue. We like to stay connected to that very human experience of, oh, there's pain, I'm in pain, whereas animals really could teach us that there is a next level. And through this practice, we can actually reach that level in times like what Jamie experienced with her dog, where you're laying there, you're connected, and you're no longer focused on what's happening or the pain. You're just focused on your breath and you're present. And so I don't know if anybody else wants to share something about that. Kelly, I didn't know if you had anything more about that as well, about transcending that pain.
I think I had a similar experience with my little Flinny, who was a black kitty that I had from very young. She lived almost 19, and she couldn't come up to the bed anymore. And I knew the vet was coming, but I had a few days before she could get there. And so I just slept down here with her on the couch and spent as much time as possible. And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, people are often like, are you kidding me? You know, you're just like giving up everything to just sit with your cat. I'm like, this is my last chance to be in her presence, you know, physically. And, and so same thing, you know, I'd just be in that, that breathing space and not trying really hard not to think about what was coming, but just being with her one-on-one in this loving situation without all this dread, trying to, you know, just kind of hold back the dread until the time comes when, you know, it's going to be hard to do when the vet's here. So being totally present with her and spending every evening and every night just laying with her was really a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and for both of you, right? Not only for you, but for her as well. Just having that moment. I think that that's really important for all of us if we can, because sometimes we don't have that kind of freedom to do that. But if you can, to spend as much time with your animal before they're passing or when they're sick, and just enjoy that presence, and focus on the good times, focus on just that happiness of, wow, you came into my life and I'm so grateful for that. So I'd like to say, Corinne, welcome. It's so good to see you. Mary Lynn, thank you so much. Anne, thank you for joining us. Corinne, did you want to say something?
I wanted to introduce my friend Jennifer. We're here
Hi,
working on some
Jennifer.
stuff, and I said,
Hi.
I'm taking a break and bringing some great folks in. Hi.
Hi, it's
Hi,
so
Jamie.
good to
Nice
see you.
all. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Hello.
Wonderful. So good to have you here. We're talking about, which I know you know very well, we're talking about grief and transitioning of animals. And I know from your experience, you had a beautiful experience, if you want to share that.
Well, you know, what was beautiful was, you know, he was beautiful. Our bond was beautiful. The experience itself, I mean, I don't think of that as beautiful. But I can remember like holding vigil, you know, and this sense of, you know, I tried to remember a lot of what I learned from you. Like I tried to, you know, do the Reiki, and also, you know, breathe love from my heart into him. And I'm sure he felt surrounded by love, maybe until the last couple of minutes where that whole thing didn't go great. But yeah, I mean, I really identified with this, the humans stay connected with the human pain thing. So our life together was beautiful. The experience itself, not so beautiful.
Yeah. But I guess what I meant was that you were able to find a little bit of peace in the last of it, because it was very hard, because Lancelot was very, very close to you. It's like losing, we have to acknowledge, it's like losing a child.
Yeah.
That when we lose an animal, there's no less painful for some of us, especially when we have these deep connections, like Kelly was talking about Flinny, and you with Lancelot. You know, we have to give ourselves grace, and like Jamie experienced with her little Chow Chow. There's, you know, I think a lot of times, like Kelly was saying, people say, oh, you should move on, you should, you know, why are you doing this, why are you spending so much time? And we have to ignore that noise and honor our heart and give ourselves that space and give ourselves that grace, because we won't ever get that time back. And I think it's just another way to honor animals. So thank you so much for sharing that, Corinne. Really appreciate it. So does anyone else want to share? We've got this beautiful open space, or just ask questions maybe. No one.
Also put something in chat because I'm watching.
Yeah.
It. Oh, Anne said she recently lost her chow chow from 11 years. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Anne. I'm so sorry about that. You know, and it's a really wonderful thing for us, and it's hard at first, right? Because we're in so much pain, but to focus on those memories, to focus on the lessons, to focus on everything they've brought to our life and how much different we are thanks to them. Like with Reba, she was disabled when I got her, and like I said, she was shaken, she could barely walk, but she taught me that she didn't see herself as disabled. The other dogs didn't see her as disabled. And when she would get drug around the yard, and it would just make my partner so upset, by the neighbor's puppy, when she would win the tug of war, her whole body would wag because she was so happy. And it taught me that, you know, we want to focus on our limitations and what's happening in our life that's like bad or sad or whatever that is, or our pain that we're suffering from. And the reality is we can transcend that. Animals show us how you don't have to focus on the limits, focus on the positives, focus on who you are, your spirit, your strength. And I love that. So, Anne, I hope that you can find lots of wonderful memories of you and your beautiful chow, and focus on those. And my heart goes out to you because I know how painful that is. I know we all know how painful that is. And
Yeah,
Jamie's going to do.
thank
a
you so
beautiful-
much for
Oh, yeah.
that. I appreciate it. He was
Oh.
towards the last year, he was had a lot of arthritis in his wrists and his ankles. And so I was really excited when I got him this beautiful cart to push him around in that was just the right size, and it had all the bells and whistles, and I was so excited. And he was just like, I'm not riding in that, he told me. And I asked him why, and he said, because that's like a wheelchair. I'm not crippled. You want me to ride in it, but I'm not crippled, and I want to live every moment until the end.
Oh, Anne, that is a beautiful, I mean, and you take that message and you look at it and you know it's going to stay with you forever. That is just, it's such a beautiful message for all of us, you know, that we don't
Yeah,
have to
that was
look at
really, that was
ourselves.
who he was. You know, he really, my human brain got in the way thinking, okay, this is the next thing. This is how we do it, you know, a cane or a wheelchair. And what if he's just allowed to be his authentic self and I just get out of the way? And that's what he taught me.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anne. Thank
That's
you.
a chow chow for you.
Yeah, you know better than anyone.
Yeah. He did teach me a lot. And he also taught me that he came to me in another life before when I had another animal. I actually had a sheep when I was a kid, and he is like a reincarnation from my sheep. And he taught me how to learn how to brush him, groom him, you know, through my other sheep, my other animal that I had, and just to be in a new way. It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing, because I know that it's very, very hard right now. It's a really hard time. And
yeah, it's
you
still
know.
pretty raw. I can look
Oh,
back and
yeah.
see the beautiful memories, and I have all the pictures, and I talk to him now. So he's with me, and he sent other animals. He sent a bobcat to my yard a week after he passed away. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you.
So we're going to go to Mary Lynn, and then we'll go to Michelle. Hi, Mary Lynn. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, boy.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought lowering my hand was the same. All right, Anne, I just want to say you and your chow chow have inner strength. I must say. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Inner
He
strength.
was amazing. He was actually, his lineage, he taught me about what it meant to actually stand up for those groups that are marginalized. So as a Chow, you know, they were persecuted because they guarded the temples and the palaces of the China emperors. And then they got into the hands of those that didn't understand them when things shifted, and they were killed and persecuted and tortured. And so I've had 4 Chows, and he was actually my poster child for, you know, Chows are not aggressive, they're not mean, and it really has to do with the owner. He became my service animal, and everybody loved him. He was just super amazing. I had him in a dog show, and then they had him on television here in Seattle as a profile for the top 5 Chinese dogs. It was the year of the dog, I think, back in 2019. And so he was asked to be on TV. So I said, do you want to be on TV? He said, yeah, if you want me to, Mom. So I put him on TV, and then there were 2 cameras. And I don't know if you guys know about Chows, but they do not like to look at the cameras. So he looked away. And then as soon as the other camera was on him, he looked away from that one. But he said, okay, I did it. Is that enough? I said, thank you for doing that. I really wanted him to shine, and he was happy to shine and stand in whatever light that would help for my process. So yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question real quick is, what do you say to a friend? I have a neighbor who's just such a lovely woman, and she had 2 dogs, and her female just passed away a week ago. And I don't know what to say. I don't want to say I'm sorry because, you know, what do you say as a dog owner to someone that, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
is
I always
such a-
say, you know, my heart is with you, because that's the truth. My heart is with them. I know
Mhm.
deeply how that feels. Yeah, I mean, I always say I'm sorry. I think that's just like a go-to that you say. It doesn't really convey the emotion. So I always say my heart is with you,
I
and
like-
are you
yeah,
okay?
I like
And
that.
do you need anything?
Anything.
I don't know, Jamie, what do you say?
So just yesterday I had that happen. And you know, I asked her, are you doing okay? And then I let her know that there is this tradition that I have from a friend, that whenever anyone is going through anything, a difficult time, or they're grieving or whatever like that, we plug a nightlight in. And so I just let her know. I said, hey, I've got a nightlight plugged in, and it's just to, you know, help Burton light his way home and to help light your way through the grief and the pain. And I'm here for you.
I love that.
I love
I
that.
really love that's a
Thank
really
you.
wonderful thing to do. Wow. So you just plug in, you tell them you're going to plug in a night light to help light the animals' way and also light their way through the grief.
Yep.
Oh, I love that so much. That's
Gals, I
amazing.
just wanted to chime in and say real quick that I noticed something new at my vet, which is it says it's got a little electric candle on the front desk and a little sign that says, if this is lit, that means, you know, someone's saying goodbye to their beloved.
Oh,
I thought that was
wow.
nice.
That's a beautiful service to
Yeah.
offer from a vet. I love that. And then Kelly, do you have anything that you say? You've been doing this a long time, so.
Yeah, I kind of follow the same kind of rules I would follow with people. Like one thing that's really nice to do is say, well, tell me about your dog, or tell me about your cat, or the animal that passed, because a lot of times people don't want to shine the light on the fact that they just lost their animal, but we want to talk about them because we love them and we don't want them to disappear, right? And you know, saying I know how you feel is really not helpful. So just I love what you said, Leah. My heart is with you. You know, just ask in Jamie's what Jamie suggested too, and just asking if there's any way you can help. And you know, if it's, you know, just a friend or something, I offer, you know, some Reiki to them. But it's a long process for a lot of people. It's just like losing a human. So, and it's back and forth and up and down. So,
absolutely.
you know, I just, I reach out to them. I've had couple of friends who have lost beloved animals recently, and just keep checking in with them. And I think it's important to remember to check in after the first couple of weeks, because, you know, that grief is still going on, even though 2 weeks has gone by. And to us, it's kind of, you know, now we're, you know, we've gone on with our lives, but that person is still living with that grief.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cal. Michelle, you had your hand up. Did you say, yeah, love to
Sure.
hear from you.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Glad I could make it. I'm visiting my daughter, so that's why I
Oh,
wasn't
nice. I'm
I'm-
glad you could too.
on you guys live. Yeah. Yeah, so my boy Red was a horse. They're such good friends to us, you know, when he was in basically in hospice, because we knew we were gonna have to put him down, but he was still eating. I was bringing him lots of treats and feeding all his friends treats, and but he knows me so well that he knew that I was thinking about how could we not put him down? Like, how can we solve this? You know, I was getting very mental. And so I was sitting, and so I was below him, and he'd never done this before. And he started biting my head, not to hurt me, but biting my head. And he was like, his whole jaw just biting the top of my head. And I really got it. I was like, okay, he's like, telling me, get out of your head, you know, and they're such good friends to us. And then when we did put him down, I didn't want to be right next to him. I just didn't want that image in my mind of him falling. And so I left him with the great vet, and then this other woman that was part owner of him, that was really close with him. And I walked away so I didn't have to see it. So I heard him fall, and I took my camera and I took a picture of the sun. And he gave me another gift, because then later when I looked at that picture, it turned into one of those moving pictures, live, I think they're called. And
Yeah.
it was actually a bird flying into the sun that I took a picture of.
Wow.
And I didn't know, I just knew I was taking a picture of the sun. So I know he gave me that. At that time, it was especially hard because I'd been through a mudslide and I'd had a lot of loss around neighbors dying and losing where I was living and things. And so it was especially hard. So for me to take care of myself better, I did do a 6-week group therapy at the local hospice for pet loss.
Mhm.
And I really recommend that. And I know that there's definitely therapists that only focus on pet loss. I had found out about all of that during that time. But they're such good friends to us, you know, and the animals they always tell me to tell the person that, you know, I wasn't there to make you suffer. So even though I'm not in my body anymore, I'm still not there to make you suffer. So, you know, yes, go through your process, but know that that's not what this is supposed to be. I was never meant to be that for you, to equal
Right.
suffering. So, and what I hear a lot is that they want you to take all of that love that you had and share it in their honor, and even love for yourself. Like, so many are just like, please tell my person to love themselves in honor of me, you know.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. You know, and I think that we forget that in our grief. Like, a lot of times you'll hear people, especially in animal Reiki, feel bad because they didn't treat an animal in the past when they were younger very well. And, you know, a lot of times it's circumstance. And the messages over and over and over from animal communicators, right? Because in animal Reiki, we don't use communication, but that we hear is exactly what you shared. So thank you so much for sharing that, because it's important for all of us to hear that we could share our love. I love that, to share our love with other animals. And so that's beautiful, Michelle. I really appreciate that. So we're going to talk to Liza. Liza had her hand up, and then we'll get to you, Beth. Richie?
Thank
Hey,
you.
Liza.
Hi. I'll try to be quick because Michelle just brought up another really beautiful story that I have. So I'll actually tell that one first. So I was actually doing a guided meditation with someone
Oh,
in a
Eliza,
group community one time.
you're breaking up a little bit. Can
Let
you
me
turn
do
off
my.
your,
Yep.
yeah. And then, yeah, okay.
So I
perfect.
was doing a guided meditation one time online with a group of people, and one of my dogs years ago that had some really, it was a really rough circumstance why I ended up having to put her down. And I always felt guilty about it and wondered how she felt about it. And she came in this meditation that I was doing that was totally different. I was being guided through this other meditation, and here my dog shows up, and she's huge. She was a pit bull, and she was a pretty small pit bull, just the sweetest dog. And she came to me, and she was like huge, and she had kids riding on her back. And she told me, "Mama, I love you so much. Live life as big as you can." It was so amazing.
That's such a beautiful message.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. And the other story that I had really quick was one of the hardest times I had to hold space for a transitioning animal was for one of my brothers, his dog. He was really old and wasn't eating anymore, couldn't walk anymore, and they decided to have a vet come to the house, and they didn't really believe in all my Reiki stuff, but he had me come over anyway, and he's like, "Well, can you come over?" He said, "Can't hurt." So I went over a couple hours before the vet came, and I just sat in space with them in the living room with him and his family. And when it was a little bit before the vet came, I believe, they had two cats also, and they noticed, they told me this later, but the two cats actually came in and lied fairly close to the dog as he was laying there. And they were holding space with us too, right? They knew what was going on, and they were holding space for the family as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so my brother and his significant later on, they were like, "Sorry, Mila, no baby." They later said, "Wow, I can't believe how those cats responded to what was going on." So, but it was awesome and amazing, while also being a little difficult, especially because it was my brother.
Well, and I think the underlying theme here that we can pick up from all these stories is that the animals are showing us that only love matters, that only love is real, and that only love matters. Feeling pain, all of that's just imaginary, because you can feel pain about something or not feel pain about something, but love is really the consistent theme throughout everything. And also, you brought up a really good thing in like the story between me and Kelly is when we hold space for the human, it can help them to really come to terms with what's happening and help heal their heart. I know that when I very first learned Reiki, I was level 1 animal Reiki. And my friend Lindsay, she was 29, and her cat Minu, who was actually, so Minu was 21. So she'd had Minu since she was like 8 years old or 7 years old. So it's a long time. And Minu was getting ready to pass, and Lindsay and her boyfriend Lalo were so upset by what was happening. So I went over to the house and did some sessions, and I went for like a week, did 4 in a row. And it was really wonderful to see how at first there was a lot of grief, but then with each day that we did the sessions, the family started to become more accepting of what was going on. So that by the time Minu actually passed away, she passed away at home, her family was there to support that. And also another cat that had been with her Buddy for 19 years, Buddy actually was able to spoon her little bed where Mina was laying and lay there after Minu passed and have his time with her. So he laid there for like an hour after she passed And then he was able to let go. And so there's so much that our practice can bring to this process. We can really be that nightlight, like Jamie was saying, that light helps light the way for the animal, but for the people. And so we can be that light in our heart, the light that we always focus on cultivating through our practice. That is the nightlight. And I love that analogy by Jamie, because that is what we can see ourselves as this beautiful light that is helping support the family heal and lighting the way for the animal to pass surrounded with love and appreciation and joy. So Beth, Richie, you had your hand up. Hello. So good to
Hi.
see you. Hi.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sharing. It's been so nice to hear all your stories. I have a question about, it was something related to what Kelly said about you don't say to them, like, I know what you're going through. Because I'm doing pet loss training just now, and they say the exact same thing, like that's not the right thing to do, because you can't ever experience what somebody else is experiencing. But when I think back to when I lost my dog, all I wanted to do was to speak to somebody that had been through it and knew what I was feeling. And I didn't have anybody. And I would have loved if somebody had said that to me, because I would have felt like safe enough to speak to them about it. So I always wonder why, like, the training tells you not to say that. And would you be able to give me any advice?
Kelly, why don't you expand a little bit on that? Because I'm sure Jamie and I have our opinions too, but since she's speaking to you.
That's a good question, Beth. And for me, I think I see it as, the better question is, would you like to talk about it? Or even asking somebody who's been through it to talk about it, but assuming that we know what somebody else's experience is. For somebody like you, that's one thing, but for somebody else that is not helpful. So I think it's more helpful to just ask, would you like to talk about, ask somebody if they would like to talk about it, the person that's lost their animal, and encourage them to do that if they want to. But if it was me and I wanted to talk about it, I would ask the people that I know would be receptive and understanding to do that. So, I would call Leah and say, hey, I need to talk about it. Or, one of my friends I know would understand what I'm going through. So I'm sorry you didn't have anybody to talk to about it.
Yeah. And I think too, there's that difference between saying, oh yeah, I know what you're going through, right, as opposed to, oh, I recently lost, like, kind of like what Anne did, oh, I recently lost my chow chow. And then, the door is open because they have had a similar experience, not exact same. And I think that's, if I'm understanding it correctly, I think that's really what people are saying. It's like, you can't say, oh yeah, I know what you're going through, because that kind of disempowers the other person.
Yeah, and there's a risk of bringing our own grief into somebody else's that's fresh.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the other reason, is that we could, say, oh yeah, I understand what you're going through. I just lost my cat. And then you start talking about your cat, not trying to be harmful or, thinking you're doing the right thing to give them support, when really what you're doing is now you're making it about you. And so that's the other risk that you take when you go too far with that.
Jamie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. And, we know there's all kinds of people out there. There's those who don't understand it all, who say, oh, it's just a cat or a dog, right? And we probably work with some of those, and you may get that. There's going to be people, because as humans, we really don't know how to talk about death, what to do about it. Most of us are very, oh my gosh, what do I say? I'm clumsy. I don't want to say the right thing. We're just not. It's going to happen to all of us. And yet we are so not adapted to, even talk about it or, comfort each other. So some of it is people just are kind of clueless on what to do. And if possible, sometimes, we do have to kind of take the lead when we know we're around safe people, because absolutely, I know I always want to talk about them. I don't want to forget my animals. I want to talk about them. You know, sometimes it's just wonderful to say, I just lost my best friend and I'm hurting, right? We just need somebody that can hold space for us and tell us that. So it's okay to ask for help, or, you know, just to say, can we talk about it? And if you don't have that, maybe journal about it. Like, if I'm really sorry you didn't have anybody that you could turn to either. And so maybe write those feelings down, maybe meditate on those feelings and see what message you get, you know, from the animal, because they're still there. And I know there's times with Tulip where I'm missing her, even today. And I'll say, boy, I really miss you. I wish you were here. And I immediately get this, no, I couldn't be in that body, but I haven't gone anywhere. So she had cancer and she was in a lot of pain. She just couldn't be in the body anymore, but she's still here.
Yeah. And again, talking about it, right? Oh, go ahead, Kelly. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to quickly say that, you know, I like that Jamie, you know, did point out we all have different ways. And it reminded me of when you came upstairs the next morning and I wanted to give you a hug because that's what I would have wanted for myself.
Right.
You're like,
Oh, yeah.
don't touch me, don't hug me. So, you know, we really, you know, but you knew to tell me that. You didn't just take that hug and, you know, even though you didn't want it, to not make me feel bad about, you know, doing the wrong thing. So,
right.
so
I was
there's
like,
that.
I love you, but I can't be hugged right now. I can't go there right now. I've got to, you know, because whenever I get, it's so funny because, like, you know, in the Reiki circles, right? So I remember one time I slammed my finger in the door and it was Franz and one of our friends, Carrie and Kathleen. And all they wanted to do was come around, give me Reiki. And I'm like, get away from me. I got to go in my cage. You know, I went to the hotel room. It's like, just let me lay here. Just let me deal with my pain and my trauma like a hurt animal. And then, okay, now that I feel better, now you could do Reiki. Now you could do whatever you got to do, but I need space. And so I knew if she hugged me, I had kind of built myself up. Okay, I'm going to get through it. We're going to go to the rescue. But yeah, you know, I didn't want that, but that's what you would have wanted. But that's good to note, right? Because I know if Kelly's going through pain, she needs a hug. You grab that girl, you put her in a big bear hug. But it is interesting. Like Darlene said, I think it also depends on how well you know the person too, right? If you share that my animal is passed and it's somebody you don't know as well, a lot of people don't, they feel like, oh, your animal's gone, no big deal. But then I remember one time one of my animals passed and I had to work that day. It was an off day, so it was just me and my boss. And I was literally bawling all day. And he asked me when I came in, what's wrong? And I told him, he goes, oh yeah, you know, I've been there, I get it. And so he didn't like judge me or anything or say, why are you still crying? Like he knew. And so that was really nice. So I think that's a really good point, Darlene, that we kind of have to know who we're talking to. And the good news is, Beth, you're part of a beautiful community, and especially like even with the end of life animal community. And so now you have lots of people who understand what you're going through. And it's never too late to talk about the animal either. You know, it's never too late to share about that animal. Because I always feel that when we talk about them, we're actually elevating our heart, elevating our energy, and honoring them as well. So, you know, always, if you can, and if it's not too painful, talk about the animal. Mary Lynn says, at the shelter I visit, I offered the information that Reiki creates a beautiful, loving atmosphere during the animal's transition. The director thought Reiki would hasten the process and didn't think it was helpful. The mindset was a meaningful lesson. Yeah, well, again, you go back to meditation. Just meditation doesn't hasten anything, and that's all it is. But she obviously had something going on there. So yeah, let's get to Corinne really fast, because I know I want to leave plenty of time for Jamie's going to have a really beautiful meditation for us in honor of Burton, who just passed, and I'll let you talk about him too. But Corinne, please.
Thanks. Well, when Liza was sharing her stories earlier, it reminded me of a dream that I had the night before Lancelot died. And I always called him my beautiful boy. And in my dream, there was this beautiful little boy, and he was blonde, and he wanted to come with me somewhere. And he was crying because he couldn't come with me. And he said, but I love you. And I said, love never has to hurt. And so I just thought that was such an incredible message. And then I realized that actually, you know, it was probably him saying to me, love never has to hurt. And that maybe I was the upset little boy. But I was happy to hear Liza sharing and everybody sharing, because it reminded me, and I don't want to forget that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, you know, these calls are to help give us tools to go out and make us strong, but they're also a place where we can share our stories and get support and hear from other people and know that we're not alone. Hey, Mel, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. So, does anyone else have anything more to add to this before we turn it over to Jamie? And if not, then we'll hand it over to Jamie. And I don't know, Jamie, if you want to tell a little bit about Burton.
So a day and a half ago, I got a message that Burton was making his transition. Burton was a client. He was a friend. He was a buddy. He was a German Shepherd who changed my view on German Shepherds. I had this image, you know, where they have the bad backs. And I thought, oh, these breeders, oh, that whole breed is just ruined. They're terrible. And he was a working dog. And I met him, and he didn't have the back or the long hair. He was a working German Shepherd. He had been a drug dog, and his mom and he were doing nose work. And I was called in because she was frustrated because she knew he had the ability. He could smell, he knew what he was doing. He just didn't want to do it. He'd hit the panic bar and leave. He'd go flirt with the judges. I mean, Burton lived life. He was not like driven like some of these drug dogs are. He was living and enjoying life. And so they were together all the time, every day at work and then for nose work. And he transformed my view on German Shepherds totally. And we also fell in love with each other. And I just worked with him for a year, but he was so special. So he's just shy of 11 years old when he made his transition, which is old for a German Shepherd. And when I got the news, I sat down and immediately started to meditate and just imagined, you know, this beautiful love that you can't even, words cannot describe what I believe when we make our transition, the love we go back to. And there was a warmth, and I was happy for him because he knew the secret. He was this beautiful love that I can't even comprehend yet. And so I would just like to kind of do this in honor of Burton and all the animals that we love, to share this meditation. And for us, you know, this is about us and how the animals heal us and guide us, and they will get us to that point. So if everyone would just like to get comfortable, take a couple of deep breaths, because it's been pretty emotional, which is okay. Emotions are fine. Just release some of that. And now go ahead and place your hands in gasso. And begin to breathe in through your nose, pulling it all the way down to your belly, igniting that light, that divine light that resides inside us. And then exhale it out into the space around you. Take another slow, deep breath in, pulling it all the way to the belly, igniting that light. And exhale out into the space around you. Take another deep breath in, pull it all the way down to the belly. Every cell is being illuminated now as you ignite that light. And then exhale this light back out to the universe. Another breath in. This light is traveling all up and down your body. And as you exhale, it extends back out to the universe. And let's just take a couple more breaths like that. Breathe in, ignite the light, And exhale out. Take another deep breath in. Ignite the light. And exhale it back out. Now just let your breath find a natural rhythm. And visualize yourself walking in a sea of grass. This grass is so tall, it's above your head. You can see nothing but the grass as it parts in front of you. Suddenly, you notice that an animal is in front of you. Just notice who's there to guide you. It could be a current pet, a pet that's crossed over, or maybe a wild animal. Thank them for guiding you through this sea of grass. Just walk gently behind them, trusting they're guiding the way for you. Until you come to this clearing. It's a circle. And inside this circle, there are many animals. Those that have passed, those that live with you now, those that are wild, that are in the sea. Many, many animals are here. And just see who shows up for you, who's in the circle. It may happen so fast, you can't even tell. Notice the sense of warmth come over you. And a feeling of joy. The circle, you're filled with joy when you're in the circle. The joy is from the animals. This is the indescribable love that they are, that we shall return to as well. And we're all connected in this circle. And just breathe while you're here. And just feel the joy and the warmth come over your body. Such a beautiful space to be. The animals are holding space for us. See who comes to the circle to connect with you. What messages they have to share with you. And just melt into this beautiful peace and love and joy that the animals hold us in. Allow everything to dissolve into it. There's no worry, there's no pain, only joy and love. Just feel your presence there. And if your mind wanders, it's okay. Just go back to the breath and being present in this beautiful energy the animals hold for us. See yourself as just a bright light. Breathing in and out this beautiful light as you dissolve into the light of the animals in this space, this circle of indescribable love. This is a space you can visit anytime you want. The animals will be here holding space. And now thank whoever showed up in that circle to hold space for you, to share love with you, to elevate your light. And as you walk back through the tall grass, away from the circle, notice who walks with you, guiding you, protecting you, always by your side. It'll be different for all of us, but just notice who's there. Slowly walk through that grass together. And as you reach the end of the field of grass, turn and thank them. And know that they will always be with you. And now take another deep cleansing breath all the way down to the hara, to your belly, letting it anchor you back into this space and time. Become aware of your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Slowly come back. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your big, beautiful eyes.
Thank you so much for that. That was beautiful, Jamie.
You're
That's a
welcome.
wonderful meditation for all of us. Thank you all so much for coming and sharing your stories and for opening up your hearts to all of us. We just really enjoyed this call. And again, you know, focusing on our practice, being there for others, holding space. And then when we're going through this, to reach out to friends. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you, Liza. Thank you, Darlene, Michelle, Maud. So good to see you. Beth B, Beth R. Thank you so much. Mary Lynn, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us for your first time and for sharing. And Mel, always great to see you. I see you're representing, wearing your little Sarah shirt. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. That was
Bye. Thanks for the
beautiful.
meditation, Jamie. Okay,
Yes,
great.
beautiful. Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank
you.
you so much. Bye-bye. Have a good week.
You too.
Bye, Beth.